When my husband said his ex was joining us for Christmas, I smiled. He didn't know I had plans of my own. When my husband, Michael, told me his ex-girlfriend was coming to our Christmas dinner, I smiled. I smiled because that's what polite wives do, they smile. Even when their hearts sink a little. He said it so casually, like he was announcing the weather. Babe, my ex, Lauren, will join us on Christmas Eve. She's in town visiting her parents. And I thought it'd be nice to catch up. Catch up. Those two words hung in the air like smoke I couldn't wave away. I nodded. Of course, honey. The more the merrier. But inside, I was already planning every detail of that evening, not to hurt anyone, but to remind Michael of something he'd clearly forgotten. See, I wasn't always the quiet, composed woman people think I am. There was a time I had fire in me, a spark Michael once fell in love with. Somewhere between bills, routines, and silent dinners, that spark faded. Maybe this Christmas, it was time he saw it again. The following week, I decorated the house, twinkling lights, pine candles, the scent of cinnamon everywhere. Michael barely noticed. He was too busy texting the group chat about old times. What he didn't know was that I'd already invited someone who had every right to be there. Someone whose name he hadn't heard in years, because saying it out loud still made him uncomfortable. When I sent out the final dinner invitations, one went to Ethan. Yes, that Ethan, my first love. The man who once held my heart before Michael did. If my husband wanted to bring the past to our table, then so would I. Christmas Eve arrived with snow tapping gently against the windows. The house looked beautiful, glowing candles. Soft jazz in the background, the smell of roast chicken filling the air. Everything was picture perfect, except for the tension sitting quietly between my heartbeat and my smile. Michael was dressed in his favorite gray sweater, the one I'd bought him on our second anniversary. He looked calm, almost too calm, humming as he checked the oven. He had no idea what the night had in store for him. At exactly 7 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on the apron and opened the door. There she was, Lauren. Pretty as always, her hair shining under the porch light. She greeted me with that same sugary tone women use when they're trying too hard to sound innocent. Hi, Grace. Merry Christmas. I smiled back, equally sweet. Merry Christmas, Lauren. Come in, it's cold outside. Michael's eyes lit up when he saw her. That little spark in his expression, it was small, but I noticed it. Wives always notice it. He hugged her lightly, maybe a second longer than necessary, and I felt that tiny flame of irritation rise inside me. Dinner wasn't starting yet. We still had guests to come. So we all sat in the living room, sipping wine and exchanging polite stories. Lauren laughed a little too loudly. Michael looked a little too relaxed. I just smiled calm, patient, waiting. Then, another knock at the door. Michael glanced at me, puzzled. Are we expecting someone else? He asked. I dried my hands, trying to hide my excitement. Oh, just a small surprise, I said softly, walking toward the door. When it opened, the expression on Michael's face changed completely. Ethan stood there, tall, confident, holding a small gift wrapped in gold paper. He smiled. Merry Christmas, Grace. It's been a long time. Lauren looked confused. Michael froze. I stepped aside. Come in, Ethan. You remember Michael, don't you? He nodded politely. Of course. Good to see you again, Mike. Michael's jaw tightened. Didn't know you'd be joining us tonight? Oh, well, I said lightly. Since you invited your old friend, I thought it was only fair to invite mine. The silence that followed was the kind you could cut with a knife. Ethan and I exchanged a knowing glance, not romantic, not flirtatious, just history quietly breathing between us. Michael cleared his throat. Right, well, let's eat. The four of us sat down at the table. The lights shimmered over the food, but no one touched their plates at first. Small talk began, hesitant, awkward, each of us pretending everything was normal. Lauren complimented the decor. Ethan smiled politely. I poured the wine, my hands steady despite the storm inside me. Let's take action and embrace inner peace. Achieving inner peace is a personal and unique journey. Here are some general approaches that might be helpful. 1. Meditate regularly. Meditation encourages a clear mind and calm spirit, allowing you to disconnect from worldly concerns and focus on your inner self. 2. Maintain physical health. Regular exercise, a healthy diet, and good sleep habits can significantly improve your mental state. 3. Spend time in nature, whether it's a walk in the park, stargazing, or listening to the ocean. Spending time in nature can effectively help you achieve peace. Let's take action and embrace inner peace. Dinner plates were half empty, and laughter had faded into silence. The fire crackled, but it couldn't melt the frost between us. Lauren stirred her wine nervously, pretending not to notice the unease thickening in the air. Ethan kept his calm. He was always good at that. But even he could sense what was coming. Michael leaned back, arms crossed, watching me carefully. Every time Ethan spoke, his jaw tightened. Every time I smiled at something Ethan said, his grip on the fork got a little harder. I could almost hear his thoughts. Why did she invite him? Why tonight? Finally, Lauren tried to lighten the mood. So, Grace, how did you and Ethan meet? Her voice was cheerful, but her eyes were curious. I took a slow sip of wine and smiled. Oh, back when I was studying art, he helped me paint my first exhibition piece. Ethan chuckled, and she hated the color I suggested. But later, that painting sold for more than we expected. Michael's voice was low. I'm sure it did. That was it. The edge in his tone cut through the room like glass. Ethan fell quiet. Lauren shifted awkwardly. I set my glass down gently. Michael, I said, still smiling, you're upset. Why? He shook his head. Upset? No. Just curious why my wife decided to invite her ex-boyfriend to Christmas dinner. I tilted my head. Maybe for the same reason you invited yours. The silence was sharp. Even the firewood stopped crackling for a moment. Lauren looked at Michael, surprised. You didn't tell me she knew about me? Michael rubbed his temple. It's not a big deal. I just thought. I cut in softly. You thought I'd stay quiet, that I'd just cook, smile, and serve dinner while you entertained your ex under our roof. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. Grace, maybe, but I raised a hand. No, Ethan, let's just finish the truth since it's already on the table. I turned to Michael. For years, I've watched you drift away, smiling at your phone, hiding messages, saying it's just an old friend. And maybe it was. Maybe I'm foolish for feeling what I feel. But when you told me she was coming here, you made me realize something. He met my eyes, silent. I continued, voice trembling slightly now. You didn't invite her because you missed her. You invited her because you missed the version of yourself she remembers, young, charming, carefree. And I invited Ethan because I wanted to remind you that I, too, had a life before you. A version of me that you've forgotten, the woman who laughed too loud, who painted till 3 a.m., who believed in love before it got lost in routine. Ethan looked down. Lauren swallowed hard. Michael's expression softened, guilt slowly overtaking pride. Grace, he said quietly, I didn't mean to hurt you. I smiled sadly. You didn't mean to, but you did. And maybe tonight, you finally see it. Outside, snow kept falling, quiet and gentle. Inside, words had done what cold never could. They froze the air completely. And as I cleared the plates, I realized something. Sometimes, the people sitting across from you at dinner aren't really there to eat. They're there to remind you who you used to be, and who you've become. The house was silent the next morning. The smell of burnt candles and last night's wine still lingered in the air. Faint ghosts of everything that had been said, and everything that couldn't be taken back. The table was still set, the wine glasses half full, like the night had frozen in time. Outside, The snow had stopped falling, leaving the world quiet, and almost too peaceful for what I felt inside. Michael was already awake, sitting by the window, staring at the yard. He looked older, not in years, but in regret. For a long time, neither of us said anything. The only sound was the clock ticking, reminding us that time keeps moving, no matter what breaks in between. Finally, he spoke. "Grace, I'm sorry." 2 simple words, but they carried the weight of everything we had buried under years of silence. I sat across from him, hands wrapped around a cup of cold coffee. "You're sorry because of what happened last night," I said softly. "But that wasn't the real problem, was it?" He looked down, shame flickering across his face. "No, I think I just didn't realize how much I'd stopped seeing you." That sentence broke me a little, and healed me too. I nodded slowly. "I think I stopped seeing myself, too. That's the worst part." He looked up, his voice trembling. "Grace, I never meant to make you feel invisible." I smiled faintly. "No one ever means to. It just happens. One day you wake up, and you're sharing a home with someone who doesn't really look at you anymore." He reached for my hand, hesitant. "Do you think we can fix it?" I took a deep breath, staring at our reflections in the window. He looked tired, but human. I looked calm, but stronger. "Maybe," I said. "But it won't be the same. It shouldn't be." He frowned gently. "What do you mean?" I looked him in the eyes. "I don't want to go back to the old us, Michael. I want to start again as 2 people who've finally told the truth." He nodded slowly. "Then that's what we'll do." A small, honest silence filled the room, not the heavy kind from last night, but the peaceful kind that follows after a storm has passed. From the corner of the table, I noticed 2 unopened gifts, one from Lauren, one from Ethan. Both of them had left quietly after dinner, leaving only words and memories behind. I smiled to myself. Sometimes life brings the past to your doorstep not to haunt you, but to show you how far you've come. Michael stood up, walked behind me, and gently placed a kiss on my forehead. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was real, and maybe that's what healing really looks like. I looked outside at the snow-covered world and whispered to myself, "This Christmas, I didn't lose anything. I just finally found the courage to remember who I am." Sometimes, love doesn't end with anger or betrayal, it ends with realization. Realizing that silence kills faster than words, and that forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about finally choosing yourself, and still being kind enough to wish them peace.